Hi, bit of a longer screencast today, and with good reason. There's a couple of tools that I want to point out to you for those of you that are doing research projects or investigative projects, particularly reflecting some of the frustration that I've heard in the library about how kids choose their inquiry-based projects or their higher level things in their internal assessments or their extended essays. And in a way of getting them to narrow down, often what they choose being way too big is a couple of tools that I wanted to show you today. The first is accessible from our Poor Moody homepage, and it's Destiny Discover, which has a lot of personalizable options, but we'll save those for another screencast. For today, it was down here, the GALE Engaged Learning section. GALE Engaged has a number of content areas and specific databases that are referenced in a number of different areas, and we're looking at them all today. And the button that you are interested in is this continue section right here. Because what it's going to do is going to spit you out to the page like this, but then I wanted to show you Topic Finder. And what Topic Finder is a fantastic way for students to take a term that they don't have a lot of, it isn't narrowed down for them, or they don't, or they're thinking in too broad of terms. So let's say they want to do an inquiry-based project on climate change. Well, we all know that that's going to lead to something that's usually way too big to handle. For those of you that are IB, even a 4,000 word essay on climate change is going to be too much. What Topic Finder does is it takes that huge issue of climate change and it breaks it down into all these subsections that are related to it. And you have two options. You can tile it out like I've got here, or by clicking on the other visualization, you can wheel it out. And what happens is that it breaks down to the section on the first layer and then the subsection. So depending on what level or how big the topic is in the first place, they can break it down even further to the next place. Incredibly handy to start looking at not just climate change, but I might want to do something on fossil fuels. Well, the GALE database will in turn break it down even further by giving you links and database resources based on those particular that particular subtopic. And if you wanted to talk about greenhouse gases, for example, or changing sea level, right, they're all there. And by clicking on that link, will take you to a full text from the Engaged site so you can read a little bit about it. Again, just as an entry level to start looking at parsing it down to something that is more manageable in terms of the scope of your research project. Within here as well, students have all kinds of options to highlight text, to copy and paste, find citations, all that sort of stuff. But again, for a different time. The second research tool to come up with topic generators is Yippee, yippee.com. There it is right there, Yippee. So for Yippee, it's very much the same, except it's not just the databases that we have access to. So if we took a term like human rights, really big issue, and then you can see here on the right, you can see all the different the human rights issues that may be worth looking into a little bit closer. So instead of doing something really broad like human rights, you could start looking at human rights in China, human rights in Turkey, so on. And instead of just looking at a geographical area, you could start looking at what does it mean to democracy. Again, everything on the left here expands by hitting the plus sign on the left. Much like the topic finder, it can break down to a reasonable extent, but at the very least, your students will start getting to narrow in on something that on first glance might be way too broad and way too overwhelming to start looking into. Instead, you can use topic finder and Yippee to narrow their focus down to something that's more manageable. And